Hello, I'm Fernando Renteria. I'm a graduate student at Cal State University, Los Angeles. I'm gonna share my project. Racial capitalism and automation, the impact of technological change on race. Racial capitalism. Racial capitalism is a thesis that capitalism involves institutionalization of racism and discrimination against people on the basis of race. The debate centers on, does capitalism include racial oppression? Can you have capitalism without racial capitalism? Capitalism oppresses poor people, women, and others, even though there's no racial component involved. In the article in Dissent magazine titled "A Note on Racial Capitalism," makes the case that China, the now use exploited workers based on race. What is racial capitalism? In a back to forth argument in Dissent, they make the case that race and capitalism are intertwined, or argue that this is not the case. In the United States, there is racial capitalism. In other parts of the world, this might be different. But capitalism is a global phenomenon. Certain people make the case that class should come first, because then with a revolution, racism would also collapse. And they read socialism and the argument against race reductionism. Class reductionism is the belief that class causes oppression, such as race and gender. Race and class are interwoven. You cannot just be focusing on racial disparity, pursuing socialist equality, and combating racial inequality. As Ree puts it, African Americans, Latinos, and women are disproportionately poor or working class due to a long history of racial and gender discrimination in labor and housing markets. He makes a case for universal versus brown and black distribution. He argues that a universal distribution would benefit people of color. If you disconnect a racial disparity and economic inequality, you end up with what Reed characterizes as neoliberal social justice. And capitalism. Under capitalism, we also see constant technological innovation, since this is an important way in which capitalists generate profit. The research questions: how then does technological innovation impact racial inequality under capitalism? For example, the introduction of automation will reduce the number of low-skilled workers. This means that if there is a disproportionate representation of workers of color in this category, then this will lead to greater racial inequality as technology advances. Introducing new technologies to the economy leads to discrimination against race and other forms. How will this impact African American, Latino, and other workers of color in particular? Existing scholarship on racial capitalism and technology. In the ghosting algorithm, racial colonial capitalism, and the digital. Hammer and Parks 2021. While technology is seen as solutions, scholars of digital economies have raised the alarm. Technologies often further ingrain social inequities and, in fact, automate structures of oppression. There are concerns about the digital divide to social media to the over surveillance of the population. Surveillance capitalism aims to predict and modify human behavior as a means to produce revenue and market control. Digital technology involves labor, capital, and exploitation. And the next article, Capitalism, Patriarchy, Slavery, and Racism in the Age of Digital Capitalism and Digital Labor by Folks, 2018. How does patriarchy, slavery, racism, or grasping to each other in the realm of digital capitalism? Parts of the minerals used in mobile phones, laptops, etc., are based on slave labor and child labor. Racism are important dimensions in the age of Facebook and digital labor. Algorithms tend to produce racist ideologies that discriminate against people of color based on the assumptions that they are poor and therefore less valuable customers than white users. Immigration, and the next article, immigration and robots. This is the absence of immigrants linked to the rise of automation. Liu and Portes 2021. What is the relationship between the presence of immigrants and automation? Does having less immigrants increase automation? Past research they have looked at saw that increasing automation of industries raising concerns about the elimination of jobs. Are studying suggests that as many as 47% of jobs are liable to automation, though other studies suggest that only 9% of all jobs could be lost. Since human labor could produce value, it followed that the more workers could be productively employed and the more labor could be extracted. The higher the value they would produce, and hence the higher the surplus value. But automation made it easier to gain surplus value. Automation is the use of machines, robots, computers to substitute for human labor tasks, which is about the increasing use of robots in workplaces. Using data from the International Federation of Robotics and American Community Survey 2 show that U.S. counties have a higher share of foreign-born population. Latin American countries, low-skilled, China and India, high-skilled, exhibit less robot exposure. The result is that greater immigration could diminish incentives for replacing workers by robots. It's cost of low wages. In my analysis, Hammer and Parks make sense since new technologies lead to the changing of social processes that create the social and economic and gendered societal racism. Folks, makes sense. Technology, capitalism, racism work together to oppress in digital labor. Liu and Portes make sense since workers are being paid low wages, so automation will not be necessary, at least not yet. COVID-19, so unpredictable events strengthen technological dominance. It brought us closer to technology. People worked from home. Companies sought to increase technology, and labor shortage is the result of low pay and low benefits. And my conclusion, the solutions are if there's higher college attendance among students of color as technology processes, and their students are able to secure jobs in the high technology sector, such as coding, and technological innovation may not increase racial inequality. One solution is a need for universal income. People can spend their time doing research, reading, learning, etc., rather than working. My references. Thank you for listening to me.